Welcome to the 13th edition of the Z Jaipur Literature Festival in association with Nexa at Charbagh. We are delighted to introduce Session 45, Celestial Bodies. We request you to kindly turn your phones on silent mode. Also request the audience to kindly occupy the front rows first. We have a couple of vacant seats in the front. Please join me in welcoming award-winning Oman writer Jokha Alharthi, the first Arabic language winner of the Man Booker International Prize, who's going to be in conversation with the eminent writer and editor Mohamed Zarrouk and the multilingual Professor Zikrur Rahman, the founding director of the India Arab Culture Center, who's authored and translated a number of books in English, Arabic, Urdu, and Hindi. Let's welcome the panel with a huge round of applause.
Well, a very good morning to all of you. We are really pleased to have Dr. Jokha Alharthi with us and Dr. Mohamed Zarrouk. Dr. Mohamed Zarrouk is from Tunis. He is professor in Sultan Qaboos University in Oman. And he is also colleague of Dr. Jokha Alharthi. Since as a colleague, he knows a lot about her, so I think it would be better if I ask Dr. Mohamed Zarrouk to at least introduce her and her work, which she has done in the past, to the audience. Now, one thing more, Dr. Mohamed Zarrouk, being Tunisian, he knows French and Arabic. So I will try my aerobatics in Arabic in order to translate it. Thank you, Dr. Zarrouk.
شكرا دكتور. شكرا لحضوركم الكريم. في بجمل قليلة سنحاول أن نعرف الدكتورة جوخا.
Thank you very much. In a few sentences, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Jokha.
جوخا الحارثي الكاتبة التي فازت مؤخرا في 2019 بجائزة المان بوكر الدولية.
Dr. Jokha has won in 2019 the Man Booker International Prize.
وهي أول عربي تقريبا يفوز بهذه الجائزة.
She is the first woman who has got from the Arab world who has got this International Man Booker Prize.
وهي أهم جائزة عالمية في الرواية كما تعلمون.
And as you know, this is one of the most important prize as far as the literature and the novel is concerned.
ولكن قبل ذلك فازت جوخا الحارثي بجائزة السلطان قابوس.
But before that, Dr. Jokha Alharthi has also got Sultan Qaboos Prize.
وهي أهم جائزة أدبية أيضا في العالم العربي.
This is one of the most important prize in the Arab world.
عن روايتها الأخيرة وهي نارنجا.
For her work, which is called Naranja or the Mandarin Orange, that novel that has got the prize from Sultan Qaboos literary prize.
وباختصار لها العديد من الأعمال الروائية والقصصية.
In short, she has a number of other works that she has done, which include the short stories also.
رواية منامات.
There is a novel called Dreams.
وسيدات القمر الفائزة بجائزة البوكر.
And of course, Celestial Bodies, which has got the International Booker Prize.
ونارنجا الأخيرة. نارنجا.
And of course, as I told you, the Naranja or the Mandarin Orange. We all know it is very similar to Indian language. We call it Narangi, and they say Naranja in Arabic. So it is the same Mandarin Orange.
وبالإضافة إلى ذلك لها العديد من الأعمال القصصية وفي أدب الطفل أيضا.
And in addition to that, she continuously writes short stories and contributed to a number of local magazines and other places.
ونحن نفخر بأول كاتب عربي يفوز بجائزة المان بوكر العالمية.
We are really very proud that she is the first female Arab writer who has got this international prize.
شكرا.
Thank you very much. Well, I think, Dr. Jokha, we in India, in particular, and in the Arab, in the all over the world in general, it's only two Arab writers are known. One is Khalil Gibran, who had got Nobel Prize way back in late 19th century and early 20th century. And we had Najib Mahfouz, who got, sometime in 80s his Nobel Prize. Now, you being the first woman from the Arab world, that is one. And number two, from the Gulf also. How did you find that how the Arab world reacted to your getting this international prize, and that to very first female Arab writer?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say that I'm happy to be here in Jaipur Literature Festival and to be with you, audience, and with Dr. Zikrur Rahman and Dr. Mohamed Zarrouk. For the reception, many Arabs were happy and proud. They consider this winning as a turning point for Arabic literature. And as you know, Arabic literature is very rich and very old. So it's good to be readable worldwide. But at the same time, cities like Beirut and Cairo have been dominated the literary scene in Arab world for a long time. So perhaps it was expected that the winner would be someone from these cities, or someone who is very famous, or someone who is old, or even a man. So that's why some people were surprised. In Oman, people were happy, mostly. They were proud. They put my pictures, they displayed my pictures in airport and malls. But on another level, like in social media, some people weren't happy about the novel displaying many aspects of society that they would rather keep it for themselves. They doesn't want it to be that public. So for these people, they weren't happy about the novel.
So you mean to say that they were very secretive, they didn't want the people should know that what is happening in their society. So that is how they were unhappy.
Some people would like themselves to be presented in literature as perfect, as ideal. So sometimes it came as a disappointment for them.
إذا كان التلقي العربي هكذا بهذين الوجهين.
If the word has got this reaction, that as you have said, particularly in the Arab world,
فكيف كان التلقي الغربي لهذا الفوز؟
how did the West reacted to your work? How it was received in the rest of the world?
Yeah, Celestial Bodies was published in 2018. By Sandstone Press in Scotland, and at the same year I was invited to Edinburgh Festival book fair, and it was very good there. I met people and all the cup is gone at that time. And in 2019 I saw my name longlisted and then shortlisted for Booker Prize, and then I won. And since then, many good reviews have been published in the UK, in the US, in Canada, and other places. And I think regarding the publication. It's doing well. There are like special editions for Canada, the US, Australia, New Zealand, and of course India. And my publisher, I think, is here, and he told me it's doing very well.
Well, I think that's a very good reaction of the West also. Now, Dr. Jokha, how did you depict the Omani society in your novel? And what are the key challenges that a novelist faces when he delves quite deeper in the society to explore the realities and to analyze it?
It's fascinating for me to write, about society. But the most fascinating thing is that society is full of stories that are strange and has no logic in it. And when you are trying to write that, you can't write your novel without logic. You can't say, okay, reality is more strange than novels, and relationships are more crazy, and things could happen. Yes, of course, but in novel, you have to put like disciplined structure for it, and also you have to find like good framework for your stories and for things. So this is the first challenge. The second is, as I said, societies tend to think that they are perfect, and to think that literature should depict people as ideal or as perfect or as moral as it. So when they see something that they would think it doesn't, represent them, they would think it's not a good novel, that they have to be ideal in their novels. And sometimes this could be complicated, and sometimes you could go to prison for it if you extend some, some limits. Yeah, this is, I think, the challenges. And of course, your friends would be afraid of you because you might put some of their stories in between, so they would be, cautious in dealing with you.
So that means you really stood up and you fought in order to depict some things of the society, tried to do it in order to see that you are not put behind the bars?
Well,
أرجو لي بسؤال.
صوتك خلي واضح.
أي. هل تعتقدين أن الرواية التي كتبتها
Do you think that the novel that you have written,
بكل ما فيها من تعقيدات
with all its complications that you have given inside that novel,
الخاصة بالشخصيات والأحداث,
particularly regarding the personalities, regarding the events,
يمكن أن تعكس صورة على المجتمع العماني في ثرائه في غنائه؟
do you think that it reflects the romantic side in its impact and in presenting it?
Well, I think that literature is not a mirror. It's for me, it's not like a mirror of society, but of course it has its roots in reality or in societies. And for Omani society, it has a lot of diversity. There are like 3 sects of Islam in Oman. There are many tribes and many levels of education, and a lot of people in last 40 years went to so many places in the world to be educated. So they came back to Oman. They have different backgrounds, and also we have many languages, like, of course, like Arabic and English, and Swahili is spoken in Oman and outside Oman, but there are some languages that are spoken just in Oman, like like Shuhri, Shahi, Muhri, Kamzari. All these languages are just in Oman. So that makes society with a lot of diversity, and it's good for a writer to observe all that.
بعد إذنك يا دكتور لحظة
أنا.
واصل نفس السؤال. هل استفدتي من الحكايات الموروثة هنا؟
Did you benefit out of the stories that are being told, the popular stories that people convey from heart to heart, which are not written?
Yes, and I love these stories. I love listening to them, and I think they are there in my novel in a way or another.
Okay, Dr. Jokha, I have read both the Arabic version of your book Ladies of the Moon or Sayyidat al-Qamar, and also I have gone through very minutely the translation Celestial Bodies. Now, has the translation been tweaked or reinterpreted?
I think Marlene Booth did a very good job in translating my book from Arabic to English. Of course, every language has its own logic. We can't force one language's logic into another language. We have to accept that it has different logic. But at the same time, I think her translations is precise and honest. And actually, I read it chapter by chapter because she used to send me a chapter by chapter, and we had an open discussion, very useful discussion. And at some points, I sent her pictures of some objects in Oman, like special, boxes or special mirrors or canal, water canal, and things like that. So it was a good process, slow though, but good.
So do you think that it was not tweaked largely, it was a little change, or there were some changes that you find in that translation?
No. What do you think, Dr. Zarrouk?
سأعود
Okay, we will talk about this.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Zarrouk, you have also seen and gone through this novel, her novel, very deeply. Now, tell me, she has written about identity. Now, what is identity and its relationship with the author? That is one. And, her concept of identity, and how did she try to reflect the understanding of that identity in her novel? يعني كيف الهوية فهمت okay.
أعتقد أن ما يميز الرواية هو هذا الانغماس في المحلية.
I think what actually highlight in her work is that she has very, very openly written about the identity.
وهو دليل على أن المحلية يمكن أن تكون عالمية.
And you know that local identity, actually, in her book, she has given an idea that it could be an international identity also.
لأن الكاتبة هنا دخلت في تفاصيل الحياة اليومية.
Because the writer in her work has entered into the details of daily life.
وعبرت عن هوية مجتمعها بشكل دقيق.
And she has expressed the identity of her society very thoroughly, going deep into the society.
لأن الكاتب بطبيعة الحال هو منغمس في هويته.
Because a writer doesn't, give anything, just like that until unless he deeply study a society.
سواء سايرها أو ضاد أو عاكسها.
Whether he or she looks at the society, or she thinks that what society has done and how it can be changed.
ولذلك عندما نقرأ الرواية نجد الروح العمانية موجودة في.
That's why when we go through her novel, we find that the Omani soul, the soul of the Omani society, is present in her book. Is it?
Yes, I agree.
What do you think? What do you think about هوية? يعني كيف الهوية؟ كيف عكست أنت هوية؟
نعم، أنا أتفق مع دكتور زروق، يعني أن الإحساس بفكرة الهوية لا يعني الخضوع نهائيا وكليا لكل شيء يعني أنت تنتمي إليه، وإنما يعني أيضا القدرة على مساءلته. Would you like to translate that?
اوكي اسمع.
نعم.
بالعربي مرة ثانية.
Yeah. أقصد أن الاعتزاز بالهوية لا يعني قبول كل شيء في المجتمع، وإنما يعني القدرة على المساءلة.
That she's proud of the identity doesn't mean that everyone in the society accepts that pride. But she is proud of the identity, and that is why she has tried to depict through various characters, the Omani identity basically, after going through in the depth of the society, that how society was evolving in the past and how it has evolved at a later stages. Now, Dr. Jokha, do you consider that you are a global writer now? And this prize which you have won, it has added to some of your fame. And did your local vision, has it changed, your narrative?
Yes, I think, my novel became like famous, and it's good to be readable in many, countries, and with a lot of people coming from different, backgrounds. That's, I think it's fascinating to hear their interpretations, their different interpretations for my story. I liked that, and I heard many reactions from a lot of people, and from many, book clubs and all around the world. It's fascinating. But I don't think that means that localness in my next work will be different, or the feeling of localness will be different in my next works, because being a global writer doesn't mean that you just have to write about global places. No, actually it's the opposite, because you write about what you know, what you live, and then people can relate to the international values in your writing. We human are human. We all love, we all hate, we all die. We all have shared experiences in life, regardless where we come from, what's our religion, what's our beliefs. It doesn't matter. We shared experiences, human experiences. So people can actually related to that in my writing, and that's what I do in my favorite writers. And for example, Marquise, he always write about specific society in a specific way, and look at him, he's likable in all world.
بعد إذنك دكتور، قياسا عليه يعني هنالك تغيرات في منطقة الخليج في ال40 سنة الأخيرة، ال50 سنة الأخيرة.
What are the changes that has taken place in this Gulf society in the last 40 or 50 years?
كيف أثرت عليكم الكتاب أنتم هذه التغييرات؟ هل أعطتكم نفسا من الحرية؟ هل أعطتكم نفسا من الانطلاق؟
We have seen these changes, from outside also. How it has affected the Omani society also. Have these changes given some kind of liberty, freedom, emancipation to women? All these changes, have they contributed?
Yes. I like to think about changing societies, and when I read in history, and I read about Gulf histories and Omani history, and I think about people living in all these centuries, like 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, and early 20th centuries, and thinking about their lives, it's almost the same. Of course, there are changes, but it's very slow changes, and it's difficult to find like huge changes in a very short period. But after oil in Gulf countries, everything changed and very rapidly. Like someone from India told me the other day, he said in India, it's a lot of change happened, but I think it's slower than it happened in Oman, because the British, for example, introduced certain kind of a car, and that car then, became to another one, and then so it developed gradually. But for Oman, it's like happened in a sudden, and it's for me as a writer, I would like to see how people would react to that, and how people think actually that they can adopt material things very easily, but they think that their norms or traditions or values will be intact. It wouldn't be, it will be there forever. But I think that's not true. And of course, we change our traditions and norms and everything when we change our lives. And that happens in a very different ways and in many different levels, and people are different in how to react to that and how to كيف يطبقون في حياتهم.
How they should accept in their daily life those changes. Now, Dr. Zarrouk, some say that she has won her prize not because of Arabic work, but because it was translated, and she has got that prize for the English version of the book. Now, is it so? And secondly, how did this win help her to secure fame?
فعلا هذا الكلام قد كتب.
Yes, such comments were written.
ولكن أساساً من تقريباً بعض الصحفيين العرب فقط.
But it has been written by a few Arab journalists only.
ولكن الرواية في اختيارها أولاً لابد أن تكون جيدة.
In the novel, while selecting it, it is important that the novel should be good, otherwise it won't be selected.
لأن الترجمة الإنجليزية
Because the English translation,
قدمتها للعالم فقط.
it has been produced in order to ensure that it goes worldwide.
ولكن الرواية قبل ذلك من 2011.
But this novel, when it was written in Arabic sometime in 2010-11,
قد كتب فيها الكثير من نقاد كبار في العالم.
It was written in Arabic, and a lot of Arab critics had written about this novel a lot.
وأنجزت فيها رسائل دراسات عليا.
And there have been a number of research papers on that book also, on that novel also, which he had written.
فتلقيها العربي على المستوى العلمي كان ممتازا.
Arabs also had given kudos, and they have written a lot praising her work.
Shortlisted for Zaid Award. It was shortlisted.
نعم، وكانت مرشحة في القائمة القصيرة لجائزة الشيخ زايد.
And it was also, it had gone to Sheikh Zayed Book Award, and it was shortlisted. And Sheikh Zayed Book Award is the biggest book award of the Arab world, so that was shortlisted in that also.
ولذلك قيمة الترجمة أنها قدمتها للعالم الغربي الذي لا يقرأ اللغة العربية فقط.
And the celestial bodies, it was not only for the Arab world, therefore it had to be given a touch that the worldwide readers from the West as well as other countries should also know and understand the Omani society. Yes, that is true. Now, Dr. Jokha, coming back to your work, which are very, very important. In your novel, there is a character, Zarifa. Now, Zarifa is a slave.
Yes.
She is also daughter of a slave.
Yes.
And her son is also a slave. But you find Zarifa a very strong character, very strong. And she plays the role of a mother to a person who is not her son, and also she plays the role of midwife in the same house. At this same time, she prevents her son not to revolt. Don't say that I am not a slave, and try to go outside and say that word today doesn't allow this kind of a thing, but she insists. So this strong character that you have created in Zarifa, was it influenced by, some character in your neighborhood, or you have heard? How come is it that a slave, the whole dynasty is there, but this lady is so strong that being a slave, she still want to remain a slave and remain within the, parameters that had been assigned to her by, her mother and, her father?
Yes. Yeah, it's a good question, and I think Zarifa's character is interesting. So when I was little, I heard stories from my mother and my grandmother about a slave woman who was so strong that nobody, even free women, can stand for her. She was so strong, and they told stories about her. I had never met her, of course, but these stories resonated in my mind when I wrote Celestial Bodies. And but then I wanted her in the story to be the one who considered the guardian of the traditions, of the rituals, of the superstitions. And she's the one who maintained the old traditions and old rituals, the one who assisted in birth of babies, and the one who had the capacity of loving and giving for someone who's not her own son, her master's son. He lost his mother, and she was like a mother for him. And she likes to dance, she likes to sing, she's the one who says the proverbs, and she loves, she has an affair with her master. But she's happy with her life because she couldn't imagine that there is a life beyond this life. She couldn't imagine that what is freedom. So that's why she told her son, don't try to find that things called freedom. We are happy here. She couldn't imagine what's freedom, what's life beyond this life. And she's happy because she's in her secure zone, in her books. So, yeah.
Right. Now, Dr. Mohammed.
أريد أن أكمل مع ظريفة في دقيقة واحدة.
نعم.
هو يريد أن يعلق على
في دقيقة واحدة. هذه الشخصية ظريفة، شخصية هامة جدا أعتقد، لكن ألم تكن تتوقع الحرية بتاتا؟ أنت صنعتها في نهاية المطاف.
You know that, of course, as you have spoken, it's a very strong character of Zarifa. But how is that she didn't want to be liberated, and she wanted to continue as a slave?
Yeah, actually, at some point in her life, her son immigrated to Kuwait, and her master died. So she was kind of lost when she couldn't know what to do. So she went with her son, but she couldn't bear life outside tiny village, tiny house, and all the things that she knew, all the neighbors and all the zar rituals and all the dancing that she used to do. She couldn't bear the life outside that. So she came back without her son and his wife, and she came back to the village again. And of course, but by that time, she was free by law. But as I said, and many actually thinkers wrote about it. The most difficult thing about a slave is to convince him that he is a slave. So that happened to Zarifa as well.
Well, Dr. Zarrouk, since you have gone through the book also, both the books, I again come back to the question that what is the difference between, because when I go through the translation of a book, I find some differences. Now I would like to know that what is the difference between transliteration, translation and transformation, because this book is not transliteration and it is also not translation. But what is the difference? How do you find it? How do you describe this book?
لا هو transformation تقصد بها التحويل.
transformation معناه
transformation.
أساسيا أنت تأخذ الروح الكتاب، روح الكتاب.
أعتقد هي translation. هي
Translation.
هي translation.
I think this is translation only. But what is the difference?
لأني ليست أولا نسخا، ما هي شيء، ليست ترجمة حرفية.
Because this is not transliteration, it is not a copy.
وليست أيضا تحويل للأصل.
And it is not the transformation, because transformation means that it is not from the original but you transform it in your own words.
هنالك بعض التغييرات السطحية الشكلية.
There are some changes, no doubt about it.
هي تغييرات شكلية اقتضاها القارئ الغربي.
Because, and these have been made with a view to see that the reader of this novel will be a Western reader, not the Arab reader.
مثلا سأعطي ثلاثة أمثلة.
I will give you 3 examples.
المثال الأول هو ضبط شجرة العائلة.
First is that, in the book, in the Arabic version, there is no family tree. But in the English version, they have given the family tree of all the characters that are in this novel.
لأن القارئ العربي يتقبل شجرة العائلة دون ضبطها، نسب، يعرف النسب.
Because an Arab reader knows very well. He will read the name and will understand that, from which tribe the person belonged to, what is the family background. But a Western reader will not be able to understand. That is why it was very, very important to clarify that.
نعم، وبالنسبة للأسماء يعني مثلا لما تقرأ كاتب من غير ثقافتك وتكون الأسماء متشابهة تجد صعوبة فيها، مثل أحمد وحمد ومحمد. It's very
She
similar
says
names.
that, what happens, that Arab understands the names of the character, like Ahmad, Muhammad, Hamad, they can understand, but a Western reader will not be able to so easily understand. So therefore, you have to mention that Muhammad, son of such and such, or Ahmad, mother is such and such, in order to see that it is clear to the reader that which character plays which role and from where we have brought and who were his or her parents.
خاصة أن الرواية غطت تقريبا أكثر من 3 أجيال. يعني معقد الأجيال.
Because, and that is also the narration. If you go through the novel, you will find that it is very, very difficult because it's chapters. One chapter, then second chapter deals with something else, and the third chapter deals with the first. In order to see that there is a continuity, these kind of changes had to be brought.
ولذلك أيضا المثال الثاني هو وجود عنوان الفصول، عناوين الفصول.
And the second change is the topics of the chapters have been changed.
والمثال
Excuse me, not the topics of the chapter.
عنوان
They are
الفصول.
just titles.
Titles,
The titles
titles.
are added to the chapters, and that was suggestion from the editor. She said it's easier to follow when there is titles. So 3 of us, me and the translator and the editor, works on that titles.
Okay, in Arabic there is no title. Yes, of course, that I have seen that, so there
ليست
is no
هنالك
title
عناوين.
here.
المثال الثالث هو تغيير العنوان، ولكن كل هذه الأشياء تمت بالتنسيق مع الكاتبة أيضا والحوار الذي أنتج هذا.
Then the change of the titles also is there. Huh? That was also done with the editor, discussion with the publisher and all those things. Like Sayyidat al-Qamar is basically the women from moon, but you have made it celestial bodies, so that must have gone. Now coming back to your work, there are 3 characters. The characters is Maya, very strong character. Now this lady was in love with a person, but she did not resist the family. So when groom came, she accepted that and she married him and she was into household. but very firm character, very strong character that we have seen. Her husband, Abdullah, is also the narrator. Now, the second woman from the moon is Asma. Now, Asma is a literary figure. She talks about literature, she talks about poetry, she talks about, prose. She's very, very proud of the Arabic language and literature, she continues. But when a proposal comes to her, she straight away accepts it, and she's pragmatic. Very pragmatic. But the third one, Khawla. Khawla is a spirit rebellious. She is the third sister, a rebellious spirit. She loves her cousin, and she waits and waits and waits. He's in Canada, he doesn't come. For years he doesn't come, and she refuses everyone. She said, if I'll marry only my cousin, otherwise I'm not going to marry. And when in the end he came and she got married, she learned that he was living in Canada and he was having an affair with a woman there. While she knew that he is having a woman, she continued having that married life with him until he returned back. He came back, and when she realized that he's not working, he's just sitting at home because he has become habitual of living on his girlfriend's earnings. So she also realized it, and she kicked him on his back and she threw him out. So how come this strong character you brought, one very strong character, one spirit rebellious, and one this lady who is content? How these three characters of these three girls came into your mind? Were they you influenced? Had you seen something there? Or that the Omani society is coming up with changes and these characters reflect what you are witnessing in Oman?
From outsider view, people tend to think that Arab women and like Gulf women, Omani women are not that strong, but they are not. They are strong. And during history, for example, in 1830, in April 1830, a woman called Jokha, like my name, Jokha Alharthi, she was the leader of an army. So she established a war actually in Oman herself. And my great-grandmother was a famous scholar, and men came to study with her at that time, to her house to study. So this typical idea about all women being weak, all being suppressed is not true. Of course, there were a lot of women who were suppressed or weak, but it's not like everybody was like that. And for these three sisters, they live in early 80s. And early 80s is a decade of change in Oman. For the first one, Maya, she is the eldest. And being an eldest in a traditional family means that you have the responsibility to maintain the tradition. She doesn't want to disappoint her parents. It doesn't matter what she wants, it matters what she should do. So for her, she was that kind of character. And then she tried to be part of her, domestic life, but she wasn't happy in that. And Khawla and Asma, as you said, she continued her study. Her chances were better than her sister, but again, she just wanted to be married and established as a complete woman, because the old tradition in Oman, if you are unmarried woman, you can't contribute in many social events. You have to be married to do that. Of course, nowadays it's different, but at that time, still at villages, people would think so. So for Asma, it's a good opportunity to be married to an artist, and then she can continue her study in Muscat as well. But for Khawla, it's different. She's the youngest, and she didn't feel the responsibility to not disappoint her parents, and she's so romantic, and she thinks that her cousin will come from Canada and marry her. So she waited for him, and then when things went to different ways, different from what she expected from life. She got different life from what she expected. She turned a blind eye on him first, and also she was too busy having a baby and raising babies and so on. And then when she could look again to her life and studied her life in new angles, then she decided that he doesn't deserve to be all the things that she had done for him. So she left him. At the time, he was a very good husband, but she couldn't bear the past. And for London, she was like her youngest, auntie. And maybe Dr. Zarrouk will say
Yes,
something about it.
I will come on London. I will come on London. But see, this Hola, I am more interested in that because she was so strongly, against the family. She rebelled against everyone. What led her actually to throw her husband out? What led her? What did you think at that time? Is it because he was only interested in sleeping with her and nothing else? Because he was not earning, and she found that she has got now a number of children, and no more he is required. She threw him back. Is the emerging Omani society also, the women are thinking on the same pattern?
I think for Khawla, it's both. Because when she was like a teenage girl in 80s, she was so romantic, just reading all these romantic novels and just imagining a different kind of life, full of love and passion, and that's it. When she faced the reality, she wasn't strong enough to react at that time because she wasn't, she was still young and not independent and still have very busy with raising children and so on. But when she got older and more educated, because she studied at that time, and also that which means that we are talking about late 90s and early 2000, things changed for women also, and so she studied her past in a new, as I said, in a new angle, and she found that she wasted her time and she would not forgive him. Excuse me.
لحظة. أنت لم تقدمي صورة نمطية عن المرأة كما يعتقدها الغرب.
This women emancipate نمطية صورة نمطية
لم تقدمي صورة نمطية.
She has not written the novel with the women emancipation angle. Rather, the progress that has been made in this society, that was her basic aim, and she has tried to represent that progress this society has gone.
ولكن في شخصية أخرى هامة جدا.
There is another important personality,
وهي شخصية نجية القمر.
and that is of Najia.
نجية القمر.
Najia Qamar. There is one character.
المرأة الحرة.
She was a liberated woman.
في عمق البداوة معناها في عند.
And she was deep in the Bedouin society. The society of Bedouins. Bedouin society.
هل هذا الاختلاف أولاً هو يؤكد أنك لم تكتبي المرأة كما يريدها الغرب.
It very clearly shows that you did not write your novel, or you did not depict the character the way Western countries or West want you to depict. You tried to bring into your own what is her feeling for liberation.
وفي نفس الوقت أظهرت أن المرأة في عمان ليست صورة واحدة.
And at the same time, you tried to depict that the women in Oman, it's not only that they are only in one form or in one color.
فكيف ترين هذا الأمر؟
How do you think this, that you try to give different shapes?
Well, of course, women in Oman are not one character. They are different. As I said, they come from different backgrounds, different educations, different families, and there are differences between cities and rural, and between families who has different roots. Some families has roots in Africa or in India or in, Arab world, and it's so. In the maybe on the level of appearance, it's a bit similar how we appear, but that doesn't mean that we all think the same. It's very different. And in my novel for Najia Al-Qamar, she yes, Najia Al-Qamar was independent since she was very little. As her mother died, she never knew her mother, and her father was busy with his own business. He never took care of her. So she realized very early that she had to take care of herself, and she did it very well. And then she used her, when her father died, she raised the camels, and and this is, for a Bedouin woman, this is very strong point to have independence, economic independence. And also, by observing society around her, she had this decision that she doesn't want to marry, and because she wants to take care of her own sick brother on one hand, and also not to take orders from any other man. And she didn't take orders from her father, so she doesn't want to take any orders from anyone. She wanted to be free. So when she saw Azan, she actually loved him, and but she doesn't want to be in this category of marriage.
Okay, one last question before I go for the question and answer. There is another very strong character. She is the daughter of the eldest sister. Her name is London. First, she named her London because everybody said that why you are naming. The society was against that how you are naming her. It's the name of the city, why you are naming her as London. And then suddenly you find that London, when she grows up, she's full of romance. She is full of emotions. She is living in a different world, in a romantic world. Although she is a medical doctor, but at the same time, she is in love with a person who have relations with a number of women. Her friend tells her that, look, this man flirts around, he goes around with a lot of women, but she thinks that, no, he is very sincere to me. But ultimately, one day when she finds that he asks her not to peep outside, not to go out of the car, boys are seeing you, so that society thing that he brought her. So she got angry and she threw the man out of the car, and she said, goodbye, lost. The man tried to return to her, but she refused and she didn't come. So how come this character came to you, this modern character, very romantic, very passionate, very full of emotions, but at the same time very firm in her decision that I do not want him?
I agree with you. I mean, Lyndon was born in maybe in 90s or late 80s. So yeah, and for her in 2000 maybe 4 or 5 to be a medical doctor and to be independent, and and her father was a good listener to her, and he stands by her as well. So for her, as many girls when they were young in such society, they would think in romantic way first. But what took her auntie too long to realize took her just few months to realize it. It's
Yes.
different generation.
Hola took quite a long time, but she realized very early. I think I will put the mic to the audience. If anyone want to have some kind of a question, please go ahead. 2 or 3 questions only. We have not enough time at our disposal.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Being an Omani expatriate for the last 10 years, I have seen a lot of changes happening, and I believe you would agree that we should give the credit to Baba Qaboos, Lord rest in peace. What do you believe is going to be the future vision for the new king, King Haytham bin Tariq? And how do you believe Oman, the society of Oman, is going to change? Because this book is now creating a precedence for all others in the Arab world and us who are reading it in an English literature translation. So do you believe the leadership that Oman has been under for the last 48 years, and we just lost him last month, do you believe there is going to be a change coming in the future?
I think Omani society now became strong enough to maintain the achievements that, for example, women have. They wouldn't let that go easily. So I'm optimistic. Thank you for your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I had a question about Abdullah. So, in the English translation, the chapters that are about him are in first person and are also in a different font than the rest of the book. And his story, he's also a romantic, but it's sort of unrequited love. And I wonder why you wanted to explore that and what you were trying to indicate by giving him a different first-person perspective in a different font.
Yes. Thank you for your question. I think that people tend to think that in a patriarchal society, women are victims and only women. And in my view, and as presented in Abdullah's story, even men could be victims of this, system. For Abdullah, he's victim of, the way he was expected to live and to behave from his father, who was very strong character, and he injured Abdullah from inside very deeply. So I wanted to give him a voice as well. And as you saw, his voice gives us the different story, the different aspects of the same story that we knew before from his wife's aspect or from. So I think his voice was important as well. Thank you.
Yes. Please. 2 more questions. One gentleman, another more question. That's okay.
I'll take you back to Zarifa.
Zarifa.
And in the sense that Zarifa character was very free, very liberated to me. I just want to ask, okay, because she is a slave, was she liberated of all the traditions compared to the free women who are bound or the slave of the traditions? It is not only in Europe. I find in many places, where the women are of slave or this thing, they are more free. They are free of the traditions, whereas the free women are the slave of the traditions. Your take, please.
I think it's complicated actually because they are free at some acts and they are free at some levels, but they are prevented from the basic freedom to live as they want or to go wherever they want. So it's really complicated. But for a traditional society in the past, where is masters and slaves, some women from upper class are really have less freedom maybe than other women. So it's really complicated.
Last question, please. Yeah. Okay, you are there. You also. Can have 2 minutes.
In your novel, Celestial Bodies, you play a lot with time. So you see the same moment from different characters, or you go back in time before the other moment. Could you speak about a little bit about why you chose to play with the chronological nature of your piece?
Yes, this is my favorite way to write. I can't continue focusing on one event developing from one time to, and then go to other year and other year. I can't write like that. I would like to concentrate on one event and see how it developed from different perspectives at a time, and then go back to another time and see it again through new light. That's the way I like to write.
Yes, last question.
I want to ask that what inspired you to write the novel?
Yeah, I think I grew up in a literary family, and my grandfather was a poet, my uncle was a poet, and so I read a lot when I was little, and then I started to write, and I found that I'm really, I need to write. So everything inspires me, my reading, people, society, passion, everything inspires me. Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Dr. Jokha, for
Thank you, Dr. Zikrur.
our audience benefited out of you, and we wish that you write more and more and get more and more prizes
Thank
for the
you very
Arab word
much.
and for the Arabic literature also.
Thank you,
and
Dr.
for the
Zikrur.
benefit of the
And
audience.
thank you for the
Thank you very
audience.
much, ladies and gentlemen.
We wish to thank Jokha Alharthi, Zikrur Rahman, and Mohamed Zarrouk for this very enriching and gripping session. Do note that the authors will be available to sign their books at the book signing desk. It's right in front of Charbagh, right at the entrance. The festival brochure and flyer with the full program are available for purchase at the JCB Prize for Literature bookshop managed by Full Circle. You can also grab a copy of your favorite book while you're there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to win something. So one of you lucky audience members has a Zomato sticker stuck at the back of your chair. So just quickly take a look and see if you're the lucky winner, and you can come claim your prize. It should be where your backrest is. You're the one? All right. Can we have you here in front? We have a so she's sitting on the Zomato hot seat, and she gets a Zomato goodie bag. So let's hear it for our lucky winner. We have some more prizes through the day. Yeah, you need to give your sticker to claim the prize. The next session at Charbagh is session 51. Winners take all, the elite charade of the changing world, and it'll begin shortly. I request all of you to kindly turn your phones on silent mode, and also please help us in keeping the venue clean by disposing all the waste items in the waste baskets located all across Digi Palace.